Welcome to the Doom Kitchen. This is not a news show. It's a talk show. We do not give financial, legal, medical, or any kind of advice. We are not responsible for the actions of our listeners. You are responsible for you. If anything offends you, we were only joking. Promise.
Welcome to the Doom Kitchen. Today, I have Jared from Revolution Solution and Limited Supply Design. Jared's one of my in real life friends that I met at Childerberg last year, and also one of the co-hosts of the WTF forum. What's up, Jared?
Not a heck of a lot for once. Didn't have much on the docket this evening. So yeah, just living large, trying to get through every day.
Darn it, it looped. Sorry.
It just barely looped.
I forgot to turn off loop.
That's okay.
Loop is the default. Okay. Whatever.
Very strange.
Yeah, I've only done this now like 80 something times. But yeah, well, I'm glad that you had a minute to chat, because I was going to talk about so one thing that I do, I like to whenever I like a show, I'll pick up their t-shirt, and you know, there's so many podcasts out there, and
very true.
And you know, like, I'm wearing Media Monarchy t-shirt right now. I usually wear his hat. In fact, they have new hats. Go check it out at newworldnextweek.com. There you go, little plug ski. But yeah, so you actually make merchandise, and you do it in a way that that is quite resourceful. Tell everybody about that.
Yes. So I haven't developed a nice, concise elevator pitch, so I'm just going to tell the whole story. About a month earlier than now, last year, sometime in April, I was looking around for some good graphic t-shirts for Childerberg, because I am a very high respecter of the graphic t-shirt. That is almost all that I own. Hundreds, maybe not, a few hundred band shirts easily, and other assorted graphic shirts. So I was looking for some Bitcoin shirts specifically, and couldn't find anything worth a shit. And I also wanted it to be tie-dyed, and I couldn't find anything tie-dye, even if it was shit. So I was like, started looking around to see how difficult it would be to get started making merch myself. Because clearly, if I think everything that I'm seeing is dog shit, there's probably a few other people that do too and would like something different. So I was like, I could solve my own issue here, and then also probably start to build up something worth doing, selling them to other people as well. Well, that part hasn't quite happened yet, but I have made myself a lot of cool shit, which I appreciate in and of itself. So, excuse me. My wife and I have been reselling on eBay and Amazon for almost 3 years now. So every weekend we're at like Goodwill and, excuse me, gosh dang, the burps don't stop. Different thrift shops and like TJ Maxx and places like that. So we're seeing discounted clothes and like way discounted secondhand clothes all the time. So I just started looking through the racks at Goodwill to see, you know, how many blank shirts I could find. And I found hundreds. I have hundreds. So everything except for a couple of enormous sizes that I've done recently, every t-shirt that I make is on secondhand shirts. All the tie-dye behind me, this was all found secondhand as tie-dye already. I started doing tie-dye myself as well, but that was more of a recent thing. It's just been whatever I can find in the wild is what I print on.
That's cool. I was thinking that tie-dye, it's always in very festive kind of colors, you know, that most of the tie-dye that you see is going to come from like the people that follow the Grateful Dead or Fish or something like that. But there's other colors, there's more bolds and things like that, and you could really jam a new style of tie-dye, like multicam tie-dye.
I hadn't even thought about that. That's a good idea.
That's a good idea for all your militant hippies out there.
I've actually there's a mutual I've got on Instagram that goes by the militant hippie. He's got that handle grabbed.
Oh, okay. Well, something we'll come up with something.
No, it's good though. That's what drew me to him initially was just the handle. I'm like, that's a good combination. That's somebody I could drink a beer with.
You saw that handle and you're like, okay, this guy's gonna be my friend. I'm just gonna right now.
Exactly. We could shoot guns and smoke together.
But yeah, so you're doing the tie-dye thing and you've started making merch for Bitcoin stuff, Revolution Solution, I'm assuming. And I happened upon you with your Long Deer t-shirt, which is a great inside joke of Timeline Earth, and everything Timeline Earth is an inside joke. So it's
yes, exactly.
It's super cool that if you hang out with people that know Timeline Earth and you're wearing a shirt that has a reference to something on it, it's just, it's like instant friends right there. And if your social life is, once a year you get to go to a cool place called Childerberg, then you're gonna find a lot of TLE fans there anyway.
Yeah, for sure. I think I only ever made 3 of those Long Deer shirts just because I don't have much of an online presence at all. So moving product outside of in-person events has been really tough. So I just made a few of the Long Deer, hoping I could sell all of them at Childerberg, which was like I was saying, like 6 weeks after I started even pressing shirts for the first time. So I had no expectations going in. And I haven't made any more after that just because there hasn't been any desire for them as far as I can see. And I think that's largely due to my small audience. I don't know what to do about that. So the innovation,
it's niche. Really everything that we do is niche. It's like, how many people are sitting there, having coffee over what was talked about on the WTF forum. One of these days, it will happen. People will be like, "Oh my gosh, did you hear what Mike the Polymath said yesterday? It was ridiculous." Something like that.
Very well could.
And yeah. So I mean, we're niche people, and in a niche market, niching it up, and we've got all these niche events, and unfortunately, it sounds like you're not going to be able to make Chili D.
Yeah, it's seeming unlikely. So if we can find a house very soon, we're probably closing that weekend. If we find it not really, really soon, we'll be closing after that, and maybe it'll work out then. But we've also got a camp of homeless people in the backwoods, as in 20 yards out my back door, that have been there for over a year. Don't know how many people are there, but we're seeing them within striking distance of the back fence in broad daylight lately. So not super keen on leaving my wife here alone in that environment.
Yeah, that totally makes sense. I don't even know what you could do about something like that.
I don't either. And I've called everybody that I think might help, and they won't.
Well, just getting, they're not on your land at this point. So there's that. And then, and the city's probably not going to do anything about it because
they did not.
None of them do anymore. No. They're like, oh, you've only got a small camp.
Yeah. Call us one's as big as the other one.
Right. But that's the fentanyl crisis getting out of hand, and whatever else, and the printing of money. That's just the way that they printed ourselves into this situation, printed ourselves into this massive pit, and we're starting to see that, and I think we're gonna start seeing that even more. There's places that I go to all the time. I'm in Utah, Salt Lake a lot. And there used to not be any homeless people there. And even if they were, there were people that would go out during the day and maybe ask for change or something like that, but they had a nice place to go at night.
Yeah, or
and
at least some sort of roof over their head.
yeah. So this
Wow.
has gotten way out of hand, and yeah, and that was a long time ago. The first time I went there was 2012. Whenever the
I was there in 2012.
yeah, super clean.
Yeah.
I nearly got, well, I had a gun pointed at me for camping myself. So I was
You were
I
part
was
of the
on a bike.
problem.
Yeah, I was I was parked right or camped right off the bike trail, and
Okay.
the cops came and they had their guns out, and we're like, "Whoa, dude! We're not a threat. Let me see your hand, slowly, slowly. Okay,
Jeez.
yeah."
Wow.
But we
I'm not
sorted
here
it
for
out.
that. That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, you're still breathing,
yeah,
so that's a good start.
yeah, yeah. We bought a growler at the brewery the night before, and the cops made us dump it out.
Oh yeah, because it's dry.
Well, he didn't even know what it was. That was the best part.
Huh.
What is that? Motor oil? And I should have said yes, because then he wouldn't have made me dump it out.
That's true. He would not have had you dump it in
But
the forest.
yeah,
It's a good cover if you're in a dry county. Just keep an opaque container and say it's motor oil.
We were on a bike tour, and it wasn't a big budget bike tour. So scoring this growler was like, this is gonna be what gets us to Colorado, and
Okay.
and so it wasn't.
At least it got you through the night unscathed.
No, we I think we had like half a drink a piece or something like that. We just like passed it around and then just set it down, because we'd already had enough at the brewery before that.
Sure,
But
sure.
yeah.
Man.
A lot of fun. Yeah. But the other thing is, there's I would say that there's a difference, as far as, people that are, whacked out of their mind on whatever substance, and just a couple of drunk bike tourists from Austin,
Yeah.
cruising down,
Yeah, I think it's certainly gotten worse in the last few years. Like I definitely don't visit as many cities as you do, but I'll get around decently, and it is wild to think back and realize like I wouldn't pull off the interstate in a place that I would recognize as less than ideal, a place that's kind of starting to gentrify. You would know that area, but it would be like boarded up houses, maybe a window kicked out here and there. But now it's also tents under every bush.
Yeah, there was some place. I'm in Illinois right now, and I was changing my phone today, and this guy came in and he was talking to the lady there, and he mentioned that he worked in this one town, and he's I don't even like going there anymore. It's just gotten too sketchy, and yeah.
Yeah, the place I stayed when I stayed up in Charlotte a little over a month ago, my buddy that I met up there was saying the gas station that he went to right off the interstate is like you pull off the interstate, go past the gas station, turn back onto the frontage road to go to the hotel. That gas station there, when he came in at like maybe 9 o'clock at night, there was a guy that had come in clearly out of his mind on something, beating on the barrier over the register, which is already a bad sign if you're seeing the fucking bulletproof barrier in front of the register, beating on it, trying to get the guy to come out to beat his ass, the guy working the register.
Yeah, that's the thing. It's not that they don't have a place to stay, and I'm sure you would rather have them, more than 20 yards off of your back fence, but it's that they're unpredictable people, and and they don't have anything to lose. That's
exactly
another thing.
That's the part that scares me. And they've got numbers.
Yeah, there's a crazy guy that got chokeholded to death in a subway today in New York, and everybody's making a big deal out of it. But I guarantee you that guy was probably harassing everybody before it escalated to the point that somebody felt that they needed to chokehold him. And I'm sure that the guy that held him intending on killing the guy, but
Sure.
but yeah, that it just crazy stuff happens whenever people are just whacked out and probably insane without substances.
Yeah, the substances and the losing everything probably are not helping.
Yeah, this I mean this dystopia is getting pretty weird, and I think that that it's a good idea, like where you're going to a more homey kind of place. I think I was just down in Indiana hanging out with Mike, and the attitude there is great. I got stuck in a situation where my the truck that I was going to pick up wouldn't start, and I started walking, and really nice guy picked me up and brought me to the hotel in town, and that's the kind of thing. You can't pick people up if you're suspicious that those people are gonna harm you. So first of all,
Absolutely.
like the area is good enough that he felt comfortable picking up a random guy, and
Yeah.
then in an area like that, you knew that my only option was walking. There's no taxis around or anything, so
Right. Right. That's
so
something that I've noticed as well. Like hitchhiking is something I've always been open to the idea of, but no person that I've ever seen on the side of the road did not look like they were actively on meth.
I've gotten around quite a bit. In fact, I lived in New Zealand in 2006, 2007,
Uh-huh.
and I got all up and down New Zealand, and it's part of the culture there, or at
Yeah,
least it was. And I don't
I've
know if
heard that as well.
Jacinda ruined it, but she probably did, because they had a small meth
Probably.
problem back then. But
Damn.
I'm sure that those things tend to pick up. But that was the only problem. There wasn't any other stuff there. It was basically just that, or
Sure.
yeah. And
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, it was great. I could hitchhike at night. I got I got from I think Wellington to Auckland is about a 9-hour drive, and I got there in 11 hitchhiking.
Wow. Okay.
And it wasn't just 2 rides. I think it was maybe about 5, maybe 4.
Wow.
Yeah, something like that.
So
And
short layovers.
yeah, very short layovers. People are super nice, and that was then, and the world has changed quite a bit since then.
Yeah.
But uh, but yeah, I tried it in the States in 2008, and I ran into creeps and perverts, especially in New Mexico, and
Really.
and that's whenever I decided that I was going to bike tour. So so actually on that hitchhiking trip, I ended up at a rest area, and I was talking to a guy who was bike touring, and he was also this guy was cool. He was also raising money to do his bike tours against the war. He was bike touring against all the wars, and I
Oh,
was
nice.
stoked on that because I was against those wars for sure. And
Yeah.
we started talking about it, and then I got to Denver and built up a bike, and by the next, I guess, a few months later, like that was in the summer, and then whenever winter ended in Texas, which is somewhere in February, I decided to start my first bike tour. Um
Cool.
and yeah, it was on a bike that I built up myself, out of discarded bikes or donated bikes or whatever.
Nice.
And yeah, it was fun.
That's cool.
But yeah, I didn't run into any perverts on that. Ran into a lot of nice, helpful people with that too. So it was a lot more like traveling in New Zealand.
That's cool.
You just gotta take the getting into some pervert's car element out of it.
Yeah. Definitely want to avoid that.
Yeah. There's a thing to know. Never separate yourself from your backpack whenever you're hitchhiking. So
Fair.
you want to have it in your lap, down by your legs, next to you, whatever, right?
Yeah.
You want to have it close. And I was just walking a short distance, and a guy, I could see the place that I was headed to. And this guy pulls up, and he's just, I just want to do something nice for you. Okay, thanks, So he pops the trunk. I'm not thinking anything. I put it in the trunk. He pulls into the driveway, and we're sitting in the car, and I'm just saying thank you and everything. And just, hey, do you like to mess around with men? No, sir.
I knew that's
No,
where
thanks.
that was headed.
You sure you want to try it with me? And I said no. And then there's this pause, and I go, can I have my backpack? And then there's another pause, an even worse pause, because during this pause, I've got my hand in my pocket, fingering open my pocket knife, and I'm like, am I gonna have to stab this old man to get my backpack? Is that really what's about to happen?
And at the same time, he's unzipping his pants. Like, how bad do you want that backpack back, Sonny?
Yeah, he would have had an unfortunate moment. And I wouldn't have liked that. I would have had a hard time living with that. Having to do that just for stuff, but it was all the stuff that I needed, and it was all the stuff I had for an entire summer. But yeah. And that's cool though, because trucking kind of translates to a way of life that's real rambly, similar, And I see people, I want to give them rides, but it's the insurance companies make that next to impossible. Like, first of all, my company says no, but the company says no because insurance says no, and yeah, that element's been taken out due to that.
That makes sense. It makes sense to a degree, but it is unfortunate because, like, anybody that's going long distance and trying to get there, currently walking on the road, a trucker's your best bet. They're on this interstate for a good while, most likely, but there's enough fuckheads and psychos out there that it's not going to happen.
Most of us are pretty darn bored too, and wouldn't mind a conversation. So
yeah, anybody that's not going to stab me, I don't care what sort of insane you are. If you're just the rambly sort, come hop in for a while. I'll pause the podcast.
Yeah, it's a bummer because I've always wanted to pay that back, but I could get my own truck and do whatever I want then. But
that's true. Something I just thought of. We had this is crazy the way that it all went down. We were driving through the mountains near Asheville, headed back to Illinois or back here, one of the two, and both the dogs were throwing up in the car. So we had pulled over to start cleaning that up, preparing an entire roll of paper towels, as one does when almost 200 pounds of dogs starts throwing up simultaneously on my wife, I might add. So we're pulled over, doors are open. One of us is trying to hold the dogs back. One of us is trying to clean everything up. And the semi, on a decent grade, pulls over in front of us and starts backing down the shoulder. I was like, what the fuck is about to happen? And this little Hispanic guy hops out and walks over and asks if we need any sort of help. I'm like,
that's awesome.
Of all the people that are going to have the worst time getting going again on this incline, you pull over to see if we need any help. And my first thought is, I've got both dogs, so I'm not real worried, but I don't want to have to be worried here. It's just the sweetest thing to happen to us on the road.
Yeah, man, I know that incline that you're talking about. I had to do a delivery near Asheville one time, and man, yeah, that is one of the harder ones on an interstate. Yeah. It's that interstate that just goes south of Asheville, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, that's a tough one. So.
Yep. And he just
ready
to help. I mean, he didn't have to back up far because once he hit the brakes when he saw us going up the hill, he came to a stop pretty quick because of the incline. But still, just the gesture, man, it was very nice.
Yeah. Did he have any paper towels or spray for you?
No, he didn't even know what the issue was. He just thought it was some sort of car trouble and thought maybe he could help.
What did your dogs get into?
They just, if they haven't been in the car recently, if they've eaten like within 12-ish hours of a car ride, they're going to throw up, especially in the turns and hills and everything in Asheville.
Yeah, my friend, he got married and he had one of those. He had like a luau style reception, and so there was a whole hog, and everything that was left over from the hog was given to our dogs at the time. And
Sure.
they were in hog heaven, obviously,
Oh, yeah.
munching down and super happy. And we're on the car ride back.
We didn't empty out those stomachs first, did we?
Oh, well, apparently, pigs are not great for dogs anyway. Because they're full of crude fat.
Okay.
And so yeah, that's what I got from looking up the nutrition or whatever on it. But yeah, it's too much fat for the dogs, and the fact that they just went nuts. And it's like, oh, you get to go unlimited on this, and usually they're both very limited. They were not ever free fed. So
okay, gotcha.
Yeah,
they just went buck wild.
Yeah. Hey, oh, cool! It's buffet time.
Time to gorge myself. Oh, I'm gonna take a ride home. That's your problem.
Yeah, and I know how that is. I got a breakfast buffet today, and usually I'm not free fed.
Had to make a pit stop after that.
It's true. But so I guess we could get back into the topic. So like I think that it's a cool thing to let everybody know something, just kind of direct them, just give them some sort of information. And shirts are a good way to do it. Are you doing anything else? You doing stickers, banners, flags, stuff like that?
I haven't. So I work with a Cricut. Stickers are about as much work as t-shirts, and obviously nobody's going to buy a $20 sticker. So I haven't gone that direction. I helped Mike design some of the ones that he was going to slap up all around Indiana. That was pretty fun. I definitely am open to designing them, but me producing them just doesn't make any financial sense with the machinery I've got right now. And flags, things like that, we can do. The infusible ink like this instead of the vinyl. It would translate well to flags, socks, shoes, depending on the material, hats, depending on the material. And it makes a really cool effect because it's a lot softer edges. People who I've talked to in the industry will call it a softer hand, where you just don't have any harsh edge to the design. It just flows in and out of the shirt.
Yeah,
so
I like that.
I'm considering.
Yeah. How does that work?
So this one in particular was like an ink sheet. I don't have any.
Oh, I guess some people are only listening. So it's a shirt with a print on it, but it's done with dyeing. You dye the shirt. And,
yeah, basically. So it's like an ink dyed sheet of basically paper with a backing sheet to carry it. So the Cricut cuts it out. You pull out all the negative space and it leaves behind the design.
What is a Cricut?
It's just like a little cutting machine. It's like a one-dimensional CNC.
Okay.
If that makes any sense.
And I don't know. I don't know what CNC stands for.
I don't know what it stands for either. I just know what it generally looks like and performs. Okay, think of it, the way a 3D printer moves. The bed slides around and the head slides around on there, but the head's depositing plastic of some variety all over. Well, instead of doing that, the Cricut has a little blade that it takes all over and traces out. So it's somewhat similar, but reductive instead of additive.
So it's a machine that does something in a pattern that you describe to it.
Yeah.
So you make a program and tell it what to do. And so with the ink thing, it sort of does that in like it sort of blasts the ink into the areas that you tell it
Not
to in the
quite.
pattern.
No.
Okay.
So there's two different ways that the ink works. So this one was a transfer sheet. Excuse me. So I order these just like eight, like maybe 12-inch by 2 foot long sheets of a particular pattern. This was a tie-dye one because again, me and tie-dye get along. The Cricut cuts out the design from in there. It just makes all of the edges. I pull out all the negative space and I press that onto the shirt. And with the infusible ink, it's a particular chemical of some sort that gasifies under a certain amount of heat and then it bonds to synthetic fabrics. So it doesn't work well with cotton. It's very faint and fades even worse very quickly. But with any sort of synthetic fiber like polyester, the Under Armour, I don't remember which arm it's on, it looks really good and pops beautifully. So it's just something interesting you can do differently on polyester and similar fabrics. Even a 50-50 blend looks pretty good. And then the other option, you can swap the blade out of the Cricut and put in basically like a magic marker, but it's using the particular ink, like chemical makeup, whatever it is, of the infusible ink. So it's using the same thing that's on those transfer sheets, but it's in, a little pen that draws it out by hand. And then I've either got to use a separate program to tell the Cricut to nicely hatch that, or I've just got to color it in by hand like a coloring page. And then that transfers from any sort of, I usually use cardstock because it's thicker and you're going over it repeatedly with something wet. You need that extra thickness. And then that presses just the same way. And it transfers from the paper to the polyester under the right temperature.
Okay, that's cool. And with that, you can make even more intricate designs than just plastic like square cutouts of letters and whatnot.
Exactly. Let me see if I can find the one I did for Brian Norton earlier this year. Oh crap.
Sorry. Yeah, there's a little pause. I should be vamping during this.
No worries. That's my fault. All right, here we go. I took a video like an idiot. I didn't take a single picture of this at the time. I just took a video.
See if will it play? Do I need to give you access of some sort?
You should just have to add it. It's down there in the little tray.
Oh, okay. So it'll be in the brand folder area?
No, it should just be in the tray down at the bottom, like where you added me to the stream. That's where I'm seeing it.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I'm on mobile, though.
Oh, hell, I have no idea.
Yeah, the mobile layout's a little bit different. And yeah, that's just the way things have to be. I have a laptop and everything else. It's just taking all that on the road. Basically taking a little mini studio. And it does have a small mixing board and everything like that, but taking that show on the road is more stuff for my luggage. And
yeah, no kidding.
And things with batteries have to be in my carry-on. So
yes, here I sent you the video on Telegram.
Oh, okay, cool. Vamp for me just a little bit. I'm gonna see if I can get that.
So this one looks a little bit messy because when you first press the polyester, it'll expand a little bit, and it's on a very grippy backing that is like a heat absorber underneath, so that the heat doesn't transfer through to the whatever surface you're pressing on. So it stretches a bit when it heats up, and then it shrinks a bit when it cools. But over time, a bit of wear, even just tossing it in the dryer for a few minutes to tumble, that ends up going away. Like, you can't see it on this shirt. I know I've got a poor quality camera that's not going to convey that properly anyway, but there is a bit of a square outline, which is the base of the heat press that you can see in the video, but that goes away with time.
Okay, so I just downloaded it and now I'm uploading it. I wish I could just take it direct, but yeah. The limitations of the phone, which are really there's few limitations.
That's true.
What we can do with just a phone and a headset, I think is pretty badass. But here we go. Playing the video now. There's no audio to it really, so I can just describe it. Oh wow, that looks really cool. So the colors are super strong in there. And after a few washes, does it maintain, or if you treat it right?
Should. Yeah, you've got to treat it right. Just keep the water cold, and I hang dry any shirt with a graphic on it anyway to preserve it, because even like a direct to garment or a screen print is going to begin to crack over time. You'll see that with like 80s fucking bands tour shirts. They're just like falling apart and cracking and shit. I've got this vintage Sublime shirt that's barely there anymore. But yeah, just don't dry them. Don't leave them to hang out in the sun for days. Just hang them up somewhere inside to dry them, and they'll last forever. So the difference with the heat transfer vinyl versus like a screen print, the screen print is basically like icing on a cake. Like, it starts off liquid and then it solidifies to like an icing texture when you've left a cake to sit out. So it'll crack apart with time as it wears, where the vinyl it's not like a cement paste. Like, you could kind of compare what was I just saying? The screen print to like a cement paste, like a border. It's not a cohesive it's not all a uniform material, but the heat transfer vinyl, you're literally cutting it off of a sheet. It is literally all one thing. So as it ages, the problem will be peeling in corners. But as that happens, you just heat press it again, and it should regain that bond to the shirt, because it's within the chemistry of the vinyl that at that heat point, it becomes just liquid enough to bond to the fiber of the material.
Okay, yeah, it makes it sticky again.
Yeah. Yeah, it's not sticky on its own. So like permanent vinyl, you're going to stick on your car, obviously has to be sticky. But the heat transfer vinyl, the carrier sheet is the sticky part, because the vinyl itself has no stick to it. It's the heat applied that just begins to liquefy it to bond to the fibers.
And yeah, if it was constantly adhesive, then clothes would suck. We would hate it.
yeah, I imagine so.
But yeah, that's awesome. So there's so many things that we can do at home to get our messages out there, and hopefully bring a lot more people to, I don't think that I think wake up time is over. I really believe that this is just kind of to bring people that are already there but are somewhere else over to our table as well, Yep. And so we are kind of in a limited market in that way, but there's just a lot of the blue-pilled people are just going to stay that way. They're happy being non-playable characters, and
absolutely
yeah.
I mean, I know it's gotten old at this point, but after 2020, you were able to at least determine who you could trust, at the very least. And if it continued through 2021, then you knew who you cared to be around at all.
Yeah, you knew who you weren't gonna go to war with over whatever, because I mean, and I don't mean actual war in this case, but those people were in such a strong camp of that you're out here killing people and they're mad at you, and you're not. You're not hurting a single person. In fact, they probably are, because they took something that caused them to shed,
Sure.
So they're probably hurting more people than you are, while accusing you of exactly what they're doing, and they're all really ignorant. I'm really bummed out. I've been talking to a woman that I met online, and I'm like, oh, by the way, you should know this, that I kind of made it pretty clear that I'm not going to date anyone that's taken that thing, and she's like, oh yeah, I took it. Boom.
Guess you're not going to take this.
Yeah, yeah. Fortunately, I mean, but I gotta have a line somewhere, and I think everybody does, and it's weird because we're in the after time of that, like all that stuff happened 2 years ago, but now it's it's still there, I don't. I don't even want to date someone that dated someone that took that.
That's fair. We're still so soon. Excuse me, burps don't stop. I don't drink beer much. We're still so soon after it was introduced that the people that were convinced that they were the saviors by taking it not enough of them have yet had anything negative occur from that to have any form of wake up to, maybe I didn't just save the world, at the very least.
No, they're on to their new stuff now. Now they're championing.
You think it just won't come back up? I think there's a good chance of that.
It will. As soon as the next thing happens, those people are owned. As soon as there's gonna be a lot of people that regret the actions they took during this one and won't fall for it immediately, but there is so many people that will fall directly for it. The first step, the first thing that happened, they'll be, we already saw it. We already saw it with the Ukraine war.
Yeah, for sure.
If people had been paying attention before February last year on that, they would know all the things that led up to it, and everything would make sense. Yeah. But
Scott Horton's been talking about it for 9 years now.
He has. It's true. Yeah. Scott Horton is married to a Ukrainian, so of course he's it's very near and dear to his family, So he knows what kind of things that they're trying to pull off over there. And this is what they get to spark World War III with. And then, of course, the corruption of Joe. Joe was assigned there and has made nothing but corrupt deals there the whole time that he was vice president.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So
I think that wasn't well known by most people until it started coming out in his presidency.
Yeah, most people. That's such a small thing, really. I don't know where Mike Pence was assigned whenever he was when he was vice president.
No, and it's wild when you like going back and rewatching Parks and Rec. They had a couple of episodes where Joe Biden was in there, and everybody just loved him. He's just the old uncle. He's
was it really him?
And stuff. I don't know which one.
It was okay. No, was it an actor playing him or himself?
No, it was supposedly Joe Biden himself in the show.
Oh, really? Okay, but not the Joe we see today.
Probably not. I'm sure there's noticeable differences.
Blue eyes, brown eyes, earlobes attached or earlobes detached.
We got 4 quadrants here.
Yeah. That's the new political compass is which Joe Biden are you?
No hands.
Oh yeah, no hands, Joe Biden. That's another one.
There's so many.
Yeah.
Do you ever just bring that up casually to people? So like, there's definitely multiple Joe Bidens, right?
Yeah, I don't know if people can see that, and it's like the how obvious it is that Michelle Obama's a man. And
Sure.
how do they not see it? The shoulders. I mean, she's got broader shoulders than I do.
She has strong shoulders.
She certainly does. Yeah.
I don't know, man. I think it a lot of it really just is like the Emperor's new clothes. And I don't know if you heard the episode of Mike's podcast where he did like the back and forth playing the old timey audiobook of the story and then like present day news captions. It was beautifully done. One probably one of the more difficult episodes that Mike has put together, but it was just beautiful. Going back and forth showing. And I'd always been familiar with the story, but never heard it in its entirety. And just hearing that side by side with all the clips that he had lined up for it, it's so apt still. And that's a few 100-year-old story, right?
Yeah, I'm gonna have to download that one and check it out. I saw it pass by on the feed, but I was overwhelmed. It's hard to even keep up with friends in this podcasting landscape. But
yeah, I've gotten really picky with podcasts recently. I've kind of gotten disenchanted with the whole thing, and just kind of annoyed with a lot of people. So I've been a lot more particular with what I've been listening to. So I definitely understand that.
Yeah. Plus the time slot that everything goes in, the way that I do it, there's stuff that I just don't miss, and then there's the weekly shows, and then I have then there's, it depends really on how much driving I do in a week if I'm catching a lot of shows. And
Sure.
then I'm also trying to learn other stuff. I'm trying to learn more about the Bible and things like that, and
Nice.
and apocryphal stuff is really interesting to me as well.
Let me ask you this. I know that you're not the biggest fan of Jordan Peterson, especially with all the Israel loving, but did you listen to his early biblical series before he got dope sick?
Yeah. I thought I listened to the Genesis one. I haven't listened to the Exodus one. I saw that he was at a table with a bunch of Jews, and I was just like, this is not gonna be fun for me. It's just okay, cool. You're gonna see this like this completely philo-Semitic view of Exodus. Okay, cool. And they're going to I knew I couldn't take that. But the Genesis one I thought was pretty good. He was comparing a lot to Jungian stuff and everything that he knew before he started studying the Bible, I guess.
Yeah. It was super interesting to me. He did a series of lectures in Toronto about Genesis that ended up in the podcast feed, I believe, sometime after their original recording, once he had blown up. And those were like just that, and the first book at the time that they found me in my life were hugely impactful for me, because I was in the church all the way up until I moved out here, and then we just never found a church that we cared for or anybody that we cared for enough to go to their church. But listening to that series, I was unhappy with the way the Bible had been portrayed to me all of my life up until that point. Over 20 years, and nobody had made any of the connections that he was drawing. And whether they necessarily were like the original intent or not, they made sense on their faces with a little bit of thought. And that connection that I had with those stories, whether they're just like storybook stories or the retelling of what literally happened, all the connections that are made and the deep psychological significance of almost every single detail blew me away.
Yeah, he was great back then. I think what happened to him is he just got spread too thin, and he's still. I mean, he still has his uses. He's still good for some things, but it seems like, first of all, everything that happened to him while he was sick was crazy. I mean, all of those circumstances were insane. he had this whole vision of being kidnapped by some Florida couple, and then
Oh,
he
geez.
wakes up and he's in Russia. All kinds of stuff happened to him,
I didn't
and
hear about that. I was away. I didn't hear a word about him for like over a year, and then I found out that he had been in Russia in a medically induced coma, and they were trying to like. I think it was about the time they were about to bring him out of it, and I was like, "What on earth have I missed?"
he comes back when in a time that we really needed him most, and he starts shilling for the vaccine.
Yeah,
And that was one thing that put me off of him anyway. And and then I'm like, okay, well, he's really smart in some areas, but he's really dumb on this one. And I've seen people be that way before, and a lot
for
of
sure.
people that right off the bat they took the they thought that they were doing the right thing, and they thought that they were wise or whatever, and then realized that they made a mistake. I figured he was going to be one of those people. And I guess he is now, right? Isn't
Yeah,
he
but
something along the
yeah,
lines of that? He's not.
he's been speaking out against the mandates and stuff. Let me see where I'm at in his podcast because I've been catching up just in the last few months. I am trying to eliminate dead air. Scrolling very
Okay.
quickly.
Yeah, I used to follow him pretty closely. Or well, I don't. I wouldn't say I followed him. I discovered him while he was in his coma, and so
Okay.
I was just pouring through all of the stuff,
Yeah.
and he had put out so much stuff up until that happened. And
Yeah.
yeah, somebody had kind of let me know that, oh yeah, well, if he was around, then they probably wouldn't even be able to get away with this. And then the first thing, he comes back and oh yeah, I think it's a good idea.
Yeah. I'm in June of 22 catching up on his podcast. I missed over a year there. So back to at least June of 21. But the couple, I think it's been at least 2 episodes in a row now. He's been making a point to try and drive home that compliance, if you don't have a strong reason not to comply, is a virtue. Just on its face. Not trying to justify it much further than that, than like, well, people are doing pretty okay, so you might as well go along with that. But that already, just feeling that as the tip of the spear and what's trying to flow behind it, don't like it. That's against everything else that he'd been talking about, again, before the coma.
You think maybe they tampered with his brain a little bit, and that's why he was out for so long?
I don't know. They may have literally held his life in their hands, and then it be a condition of his return to like literally being able to be alive that the message changes in these ways. I don't know that it was necessarily to that degree, but it may have just been like, hey, nudge, we've helped you through this, so we've got a few things that we'd like you to say. I don't know, but it's been an obvious difference, because it was like, even though he's a fucking Canadian liberal, he was very staunchly anti-authoritarian as one of his driving forces before COVID and all that it entailed. And that has softened extremely since the return.
Yeah, he hardly even talks about Stolchenitsyn anymore, and that was his big thing back before that. He was constantly bringing people to that, but I would assume that might have something to do with his current bosses and Stolchenitsyn's other book. So the one that they don't talk about.
What's that one?
I don't have the title offhand, but it's basically ties the Bolsheviks to that group that's running him at this point. So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. And I think it's safe to assume that he's read it, because he's read all of those early 20th century Russians.
Oh yeah, definitely read it. So.
Yeah. Interesting.
let me get the title of it. I can pull it up on my other phone
Yeah,
since I have two phones right now. I'm like, what's that rapper's name?
2
That has,
Chains. I think it's 2 Chains.
but it wasn't 2 Chains that had two phones. It was another guy that had a song about two phones.
I'm searching it. I'm searching.
One was you're searching that while I'm searching.
Evan Gates.
Yeah. Okay.
I've had two phones for almost a year now. It's actually really nice because there are things that I refuse to get on my new phone, and it's very, very nice to just be able to say, if somebody's like, "Hey, I messaged you on Facebook," I'm like, one, go fuck yourself. Two, literally do not have it on this device.
Let's see. I cannot spell Stolzenitskin by
SOLZEN.
Oh, yeah. It's just a very difficult word to spell, or a difficult name to spell.
Yes,
it's
fucking Russians.
Yeah, I'm glad it's not a word. It's just a name. Let's see here. On his wiki.
My Twitch spam bot is watching.
Oh, 200 years together. Just on Russian and Jewish relations since 1770. So there. I don't think his bosses at the Daily Wire would like that too much. He wrote
Holy shit! He died in 2008. That's wild.
Yeah, and oddly, that's kind of around whenever
Jordan took up the mantle.
Yeah.
Wow, that is strange.
But okay, I was checking the comments, but I don't understand some of these things. Are these your Bitcoin people?
No, this is my Twitch spam bot. Somebody similar to this will show up in every Twitch stream. So I'm taunting them. I said Sooty Breach, more like Booty Breach.
And hello to Aberrant out there in the land listening to what we're saying. But yeah. Yeah, I think Jordan Peterson's brilliant, and I can't take anything away from him. I just think he's definitely been gotten to, or they swapped his brain out probably. You know that
I don't know.
They did some crazy brain surgery to Biden too. And
yes,
yet again, which
that's
one?
So,
yeah, definitely documented. I was talking about that with the drizzle on the very first Doom Kitchen, so that was cool. Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, I think we covered it, and we've been going about an hour. And
sure, man,
I appreciate your time, and good luck house hunting. I hope that the perfect thing shows up.
Yeah,
for you, your family, and the livestock.
I know we had the chance to live in the big igloo, but it just wasn't meant to be.
Oh yeah,
it was a white dome house. We would have literally lived in the big igloo.
Yeah, it would have been too ridiculous. You just can't do that. Why you want to draw that heat yourself?
It was so good. I was so ready to just somehow tactically make the memes just dunking on everybody that was so excited, LARPing through their excitement to live in the big igloo. And I was literally going to be inside the big igloo without disclosing my location somehow. And then that would be the one thing that actually gets some attention. And it would have been great. It wasn't meant to be.
Your entire wardrobe would have to change to Hawaiian shirts at that point. And since you prefer the tie-dye and multicam tie-dye, by the way, I'm
going to actually physically make note of that.
But since you prefer the tie-dye to the Hawaiian shirts, maybe tie-dyed Hawaiian shirts. That's another idea right there.
It's bound to have been done at some point, but I can revitalize it.
Yeah, and especially when you're using weird colors, multicam Hawaiian tie-dye. So you could do the multicam hibiscus on it.
I like it.
Awesome. Well, Jared, I appreciate your time, and thanks for joining me, man. Oh, weird! The music turning on messed up your microphone.
Lame.
Huh? I think. But no, it's back. It's back. All right. So, plugs. We got more than
everything's at lsd.ittybitty.tips. Revolution Solution is my podcast. I've turned that from a weekly show into just whenever I feel like it because I haven't felt like it. But been running a year strong. Talk about solutions in all sorts of different regards. Bitcoin, permaculture, other good stuff. Just trying to live free. And then Limited Supply Designs is my passion project. The thing I'm trying to hopefully take over all the other projects. I make t-shirts. The idea with the main line is that every piece is unique, all made to order. No two shirts are the same. But if you've got a brand, you want wholesale stuff, get a hold of me with that too. I'm working on trying to solidify a deal with another guy for a wholesale right now. So I'm open to that. It's just not the main push that I was looking for, but it may end up being the main revenue source.
Cool. Well, thanks for jamming with me.
Yeah, man.
All right. Have a good one.
Peace.